semifinals as we get into our first game of the series. In the top left-hand side, our blue Terran player from Storm Gaming. This is GuMiho. Teammates, of course, actually, as in the bottom right-hand corner, the red Protoss player here from Storm Gaming as well is MaxPax. Cryogenian, one of the rush maps here. That has been one of the maps which has actually seen a fair few rushes on. I don't think this game's really developed into late game a whole bunch. I remember one game where we kind of got up to 4 bases or so, but that is more or less about it. As we get this first map underway, we look to see what's going to be going on. It's an interesting map. You know, I haven't even really seen this base, and, you know, haven't really seen this too much. This area here is just not being used a whole lot, apart from walking past it to attack into the natural. It has been a very aggressive kind of... It's been a map that's seen some fairly aggressive builds. People have been fairly feisty on it. It's cool as well that ramp in the center is not something you see a whole bunch. So yeah, excited to see more Cryogenian here. It's been a decent map throughout for the most part.
Game paused.
GuMiho needs a quick pause. You think this map blows for Zerg? So, there's very few attack paths until the rocks are open, so run-bys aren't going to be as effective. You can watch those run-by pathways with the watchtowers as well. So yeah, I mean, it's not a great map for Zerg, I don't think, from the offset. And being a shorter map is typically not good as well. Yeah, no, I mean, I actually don't disagree. It doesn't look like a very Zerg-friendly map at all, does it? I don't even... you guys are saying the middle of the map's open, but it's not even that open. It's like if you're pushing with as a Terran army and you get to here, well, first the Zerg can't surround until you at least get down this ramp. So if you get to here, the Zerg can come in from top and bottom. And even that's through 2 different chokes. It's going to be very tough to get like a full surround. And you can probably place tanks here and slowly work your way into this area map. I actually don't think this is going to be good for the Zergs at all. And you can hold this high ground. You can push down here. If you want to push, the realistic way to push would be to push down here. And once you're here, you start pushing into the bases with high ground vision and everything. So I think you're pretty right to say that this map probably does suck a little bit for Zerg. Yeah.
Game resumed.
All right. Map number 1. Cryogenian. It sucks for Zerg, but fortunately this is TvP. So it don't matter so much. It's gonna be alright, guys. We don't have to deal with it so much. Let's see what GuMiho wants to bring out here over the course of this best of 5. He's been playing some good StarCraft lately, and his TvP is also just in general looked very good, especially. So, been enjoying watching his TvP, and yeah, like I say, we'll see what he brings to the table here today as we get started off very, very soon. Obviously, a Stargate initially from MaxPax, so we're getting to see that already at least. It's always a nice little something to see initially. Stargate very safe, just going to play a pretty standard start of the game then it would seem. And then working forward from there as we have this Lone Adept currently making its way out across to the upper left-hand side. Just trying to pick up some information. Doesn't quite get the delay on the CC, so that SCV will survive and jumps across to the other side. Cupid and Micro there as well just to help out. It's able to get across over there nice and quickly. And job well done so far, just from GuMiho to not take too much damage from the initial bit of pressure that MaxPax has been looking to apply. So that's a strong start, and we will continue on from here with a, well, Twilight Council straight away after the Oracle. So that probably means we're only going to have one Oracle here. If you're going to go into the Twilight Council this quickly, one Oracle just makes the most sense, right? You know, if you are going to go into an extra Stargate unit now, the Twilight Council, you just can't afford it that quickly in the game. So, you know, because right now, how would he afford another Oracle and then also Blink? You can see that that's just not going to add up in the, you know, in the gas count that he currently owns. So, not too surprising to see this, as we just have our Cyclone going to be on guard to deal with that initial Oracle play, and hopefully GuMiho will not take too much damage from it. He is going into a Raven, which is fine as well. Sometimes the Raven is a little crappy against Stargate, mostly when you're building Phoenix as the Protoss, because then the Phoenix can get rid of it so quick. Oh, we're going to get the Cyclone. Oh, I didn't even bait the Oracle into the Widow Mine, which was just a step or so away. A little bit of a shame that is as well. But yeah, the Raven's kind of fine here because there's not going to be any Phoenix production to try and dive bomb that Raven and just get rid of it super quickly or anything along those lines. So that's absolutely an added bonus here as well. So Phoenix just coming up, getting that blink underway and everything coming through. We actually do have that Phoenix production then, so we get one Phoenix at least. I don't mind just one Phoenix here, because one Phoenix can be good at like poking the Raven away from sitting in some dead airspace, or a medevac, for example. But you should never really be going for like a whole bunch of Phoenix, because the more Phoenix you build in this scenario, the more it's just going to slow you down elsewhere. And that's something you really want to avoid from happening. You do not want to be slowed down elsewhere on the map, right? So if you can avoid that, then typically that's what you're going to be aiming for. Yeah, Phoenix is going to come in, catches that Raven right away. So this is really nice because that Raven now, yeah, you can drop an auto turret or two, but you're not going to be able to do much else than that. As you drop one auto turret down, a couple of probes get nibbled, and that's going to be about it to start out with here. So far, so good. And just going to be seeing the charge and +1 now starting up from MaxPax. His stim pack and +1s continued in as well, so continue to bring all of that through right now. Just going to be seeing our Stalkers going after, well, actually initially just going to go straight after the Siege Tank, so we'll get rid of that. Nice little blink in, and you lose one Stalker, but not a bad trade. You're fine with this. Now this is absolutely okay for you. The Oracle will turn around, drop a little Revelation off on the Marines again. And still just seeing the +1 on the charge continuing through here. So when that completes, you're going to have a much stronger army as MaxPax. We'll see how aggressive he wants to be with the +1 in charge. It's very possible that you turn this into like just straight up run across the map and really try to do like a lot of damage, you know? So a couple of possibilities here in terms of how that could maybe set up. It's got our Marines holding back the Viking there to help as well, and just zoning as best we can at the moment. The extra sentries warping in. I mean, MaxPax has a lot across the map. Obviously, if nothing else, this will deter GuMiho from putting that third base down. That Revelation felt like it crashed the game. Put a Revelation down and someone DCs pretty much immediately. That was so insane. I'm going to reveal who has the most ping. It's like, oh my god! No way! It's Lightweight! He's got the most ping! Wow. These Oracles are getting higher tech every time we see them. Alright guys, a few moments as we obviously hopefully get this resolved. It looks like if he's left, then that's fine, but it probably means that he's just, for whatever reason, the game doesn't want to accept that he's left, and so it will just take a few more moments to work through this and to actually close this out.
Game paused.
Alright, these guys paused as well. So, 3, 2, 1,
Game
and we resume again. Alrighty. So, as we get Go-Go called, we see the Bio Army going to start pressing out here, and these few Stalkers will get engaged just slightly, so a little bit of damage being done there right away. And just going to be seeing this group of units moving up through this top side to start out with. With the extra Zealots coming into position, they're looking to try and get involved and maybe make a difference here, try and obviously charge in from a couple different angles. Like I was saying before, similar when we were discussing the Zerg, there's not a lot of access points here, so the Zealots are mostly looking for a flank more than a run by into a base on this kind of base count. And this is going to be it. So we come in from the left side with the Zealot, the right side with Zealot, Stalker, Sentry. The tank gets lifted for a mild moment, but gets dropped down pretty quick as the Phoenix gets targeted, and these Marines are holding their ground right now. I believe they are absolutely doing enough to pick up the W in this fight, and that's MaxPax turned around now and unable to really, well, I say turned around, he's going to have to fall back to some reinforcements. He's not really turned around and pushed back, but falling back to reinforcements for a few moments at least, and just going to be seeing the Terran army continuing to hold on strong. 6 SUVs go down in total. Okay, not the worst case scenario. I mean, like I say, as you commit into this as MaxPax, this is pretty heavily committed as well, right? So, you know, his rest of his tech isn't, you know, in a great spot or anything. That's nice, though. DT comes in. We can see that those mules that are down there are pretty fresh as well. So, the mules end up being a little bit of a problem. We do have a scan that DT has dealt with, but this is just buying MaxPax a little bit of time that he needs, because he would really obviously quite like to get up to a point where he's able to be on you know, some actual splash damage and so on should his opponent come pushing across the map. So he's really aiming for that in the next few moments as this Liberator puts some damage in. A few probes, wouldn't have minded him shooting at that Stalker there. That Stalker was low HP. That felt like an opportunity to maybe just take that down. I think that would have been kind of nice to just take a Stalker down. Stalker kills are usually pretty much worth taking, and whenever you get offered them, as the Bio Army gets rid of the gateway here. And just still seeing the rest of these Stalkers out down the bottom corner of the map. The Stalkers continue out down at the bottom right, just going to be having our 2-2 upgrades coming in. Shadow Stride is coming up. The 2 Colossi at a time. If everything just getting into play for MaxPax, that he really needs to play a much longer game here, basically. So he's getting to that point he needs to be at. Improving his position. And we'll see how it all ends up. This CC is floated out down the left-hand side as well, so it's also going to come make a little move over, and obviously trying to take a 4th base now. Probably going to get into a pretty long game there on Cryogen. You know, I was just talking at the start, I was like, well, we've seen some okay games on this map, but it's generally been aggressive, and this was aggressive from MaxPax, but we're surviving to a later stage. So we're going to get to see the map play out a little bit more kind of, you know, with a bit more macro focus on it and everything, and that's very exciting, always fun. I mean, it's a map contest tournament, you know, we're looking to find out more about the maps, we're looking to see them, how they play and all of that, so yeah, fantastic to actually get this game going a little bit longer here as we do warp into the main base. Zealots and DTs will get rid of +2 armor, so I mean, if you're going to lose one of those upgrades, armor is preferred over the attack upgrades, so nice to, I mean, nice little bit of fortune there, I guess, from GuMiho. He's obviously going to pull his SCVs away, as now MaxPax makes a play onto the low ground. Well, he's going to start walking in over here, and GuMiho's split is decent to push it back for now. There's not any Zealots really with this army over here, so without any Zealots, it's very difficult to really kind of, you know, protect the rest of these units. But now we're at 4 Colossus, and this is where the splash damage really starts to add on up, right? So this is where the splash damage really can become problematic. If you're going to run through a choke point at 4 Colossi, your buy units are going to get absolutely beyond shredded. You know, they are not going to come out the other side of that. So that's something you've got to be real careful of here. Engaging into 4 Colossi is very tough, and the Disruptor now setting up as well. So we're going to have even more kind of zoning potential here from our Protoss player. The ability to really just zone his opponent out and go for all of that. Well, that's going to add a lot to this, right? It's going to really give you the chance to disengage if you need to. Yeah, it really feels though, GuMiho, he had a good start to the defenses. The DTs bought MaxPax a bit of time, and now MaxPax is on the splash damage. It just felt like GuMiho never got to the point where he was going to answer this splash damage, right? His Viking count has never been like very high or anything. And it's been a little bit lackluster compared to what I was expecting, I suppose. You see these couple of disruptors coming up around the top side, so they're going to go join up with everything else as well. These other few cells just going to come in and, well, I mean, this base just continues to be hit. The thing is that Protoss can kind of just sit in this choke point here, and, you know, then you've got the choke point to run back to should you need it. Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to justify. As you're going to see these DTs coming in, they're going to get rid of a first tank. I mean, they're going to not quite get another one, but still kind of okay here overall as we come through, and just going to be seeing the extra cells warping in on the south side. Medevacs out over to the left. So rotates down over here. This is the more open area. If GuMiho is going to find a fight, it's probably going to be on this low ground. This is where he wants MaxPax to be to give him the best chance of getting a fight, more or less. So, yes, that's all set up over here, and, well, just going to be seeing this bio army set off to the left-hand side. The Colossi wanting to come back into play. Looking to try and re-engage through. Stalker fling forward. One Viking gets taken down pretty much immediately. Missile turret zone now, the Prism at least, so you can't get back in anymore. That's obviously good news as well. Stop the Prism getting back in is typically going to be useful. As that Prism gets chased, and it's actually going to very narrowly go down, so the Vikings are going to completely zone that out, and obviously that's a good win as well. Just getting that Prism out, the less you have to deal with, the better. Now you can go fully focus on this army here. Now what GuMiho's about to do is he's looking to come up, and I thought he was going to come up the right side. He's going to drop on top of the army, which I think is a little bit too crazy. I thought he was going to just run up the right side ramp and then come in from the other angle because his own SimCity has been really sucking for him over here. But he actually does win this fight by dropping on top of the army. GuMiho, you're a madman! And yet it's still working out for you. He gets a cleanup on this force that's been dictating what he can and cannot do for a long time, and suddenly the splash damage of MaxPax in this game is completely reset. What have we just seen? That's absolutely nonsensical, no? Wow, I mean, that's huge. You're going to see this Bioforce continuing in. These Zelds are going to come charging forward, so they're going to go pushing through as well. And yeah, I can't quite get over that that drop on top of everything cleanup. That's actually going to work. That's the crazy thing. It actually worked to good success. GuMiho's on the right side, stimming in again. There's only a couple Colossi out, but they are going to get here. And the other kind of, you know, techier units from his opponent are now gone. So this might actually be okay. Yeah, it looks as though MaxPax is going to clean up. The DT's coming in to help push this back as well. His rebuild has been enough, and maybe GuMiho got a little in over his head on that side of the map, and maybe should have been looking to back off just a few moments sooner instead. I mean, still, though, you can't really... I'm still... Either way, I'm still freaking impressed by the previous fight that GuMiho won. I'm going to talk about that one for days to come. MaxPax is... and just going to be able to rebuild right away. And in part, that's obviously due to his amazing economy. When you look at the eco in this game, 93 probes to 59 SCVs. And that's probably why his army got cleaned up as well, right? Because he's working with an army that's not really the normal size of what an army should be in these scenarios. So I'm sure that's in part kind of the reasoning of him getting cleaned up and not being able to take as good of a fight. But it works out because obviously he's able to rebuild quickly enough to defend by the time GuMiho's army comes across the map. And as long as that's the case, then yeah, it's kind of okay. So just playing with high eco, low army count. It can be scary because if you do get overrun in one fight here, your instant reinforcements of, you know, when you instantly reinforce with Zealots and Stalkers, they will get overrun by too large of a bio army. So it's a dangerous style to play, and that's why you don't usually see Protoss playing with such a high work count, because it's just too dangerous if they lose a fight. Reinforcing on the back end is typically not good for them, so they'd rather always have just a larger army to start out with, and obviously they trade well enough that they don't necessarily need to have that many probes a lot of the time. This is going to be too much, and that's going to be GG. MaxPax takes map number 1 of this best of 5. And Cryogenian turns out to be a hell of a map. Number 1, a couple of pauses to start, but all good as we get there for a MaxPax 1-0 lead. I can't let you guys steal it from me. My girlfriend made it. Oh, here's the puppy. She wants to try and steal it from me now. You hear me eating food, did you? Hello. Bottom left, red Protoss player from Storm Gaming is MaxPax. Taking that 1-0 lead against his teammate in the top right-hand corner, the blue Terran player. It is GuMiho. I mean, GuMiho really had a good start. I mean, his initial defense in that last game was very good as well. I can't forget that. So really put himself in a great starting point. Just fell away from him a little bit as it went on. I think just got a little bit too caught up and wasn't really able to take advantage of his opponent's... wasn't able to take advantage of kind of defending in the first place, basically. And then his opponent's DTs really were a big reason for that to have happened. The DTs bought MaxPax a pretty good amount of time to start out with. And that definitely went a long way to putting GuMiho into some trouble. We'll see what happens on Rejuvenation. Bit of a larger map when you look at the size here. As we do have our probe coming across, and is going to try and delay this CC, which is just building up right away. So nothing funny from GuMiho just yet, not proxy in Iraq, so trying to delay the CC for something more one-base focused initially, or anything along those lines. It is just straight up, plain and simple for the moment. The early few moments here. How many times can Wardy say moment at the start of this series, or start of this game? Quite a lot, apparently. Quite a lot. Well, next is on the natural factory building up, and we just continue across the board with a setup that should be pretty okay to just give us a bit of a macro game as well. Obviously, we'll see how the initial teching goes, but it's not going to be anything immediately super aggressive. This game, MaxPax will switch it up. He does not go into the Stargate. Instead, he directly builds into the Twilight Council. So building into the Twilight Council directly, a little bit of a different approach, but I would imagine he still goes Blink here, which leads him into a very similar position. You just don't have the Oracle right away, which is a little bit less information for you. It's something your opponent then doesn't have to worry about like they were worrying about in the last game. So it just pans out a little bit differently. It's nothing too major, though. It should be overall pretty fine. Shouldn't be overly problematic at the end of the day here. So just see our Marine getting attacked by this Adept. Adept is going to get caught, and the Cyclone is going to be able to kill that off. So down with the Adept initially. And the Cyclone will go across the map, seemingly not afraid of anything at the moment. So he's going to move forward, maybe just trying to see if he can catch an initial Stargate unit coming across the map and catch it off guard, get a lock on right away, and maybe do something there. Now he pulls it back, realizing it's maybe too late to be out on the map, so just making adjustments based on how everything continues to set up. Oh, there's another Adept. Both the Cyclones coming in and another Adept going down, and it's actually a little bit annoying because the more Adepts you lose here, the less buffer you have for when your opponent goes across the map, right? So it's kind of something that you would like to be able to play around, so maybe a little bit careful there is all I'm saying, as the Prism needs to be very careful. If that Prism goes down, you're in trouble. I mentioned, obviously, the possibility of it being Blink again. It was not. It's this Dark Shrine, so without the Prism on the map, you can't really warp in the DTs on the other side. GuMiho will know as well, having seen this Prism, it's one of two things. Either it's going to be a... a DT warp in, or it's going to be very aggressive Blink Stalkers. So you kind of have a rough idea of what this is. This is bad. This Prism gets caught. And GuMiho's Cyclones are dominating the map right now, giving him so much information and allowing him to just do so much. That's a really good catch. Getting rid of the Prism removes the aggression, and so far, I mean, we're talking about a DT build that hasn't even warped in a DT. I mean, okay, there's one DT on the map, but a DT has not made it to the other side, and that means that GuMiho is just getting into a great spot. MaxPax is making sacrifices! And Maxrifices! And he's making sacrifices to get these DTs out. He doesn't have any other tech, and so to not slow GuMiho down is problematic. The only good thing here is maybe GuMiho just doesn't think of DTs now. It's like, oh, well, I haven't seen DTs, and so then he doesn't have scans available, and then the DTs defend, but I think that's very much so you know, GuMiho knows he's the one that's been denying the Prism, and he knows that DTs are a possibility, and it's been so long he's not seen Blink as well, right? So he just makes his way through and continues to figure out what the setup is. Just going to be seeing our couple of Cyclones left over here. We'll be trying to help zone these Stalkers out. We're not going to get the Nexus, but we'll be able to stim forward and go after those Stalkers a little bit. So Stalkers taking a substantial amount of damage. And in the end, some of these bio units are going to try and get out of here. I mean, if you can get out alive, then brilliant, but I wouldn't count on it, of course. Obviously, these Stalkers are about to have Blink, so they can chase a little bit more easily, although for now it looks as though we're okay. These units have made it away. Well, credit to GuMiho. Preserving some units on the back end of this is amazing. You did some good damage, you got some good bits and pieces done, and now you can really focus on, well, just getting set up for a follow-up while your opponent is, again, continuously being set behind from where they would like to be pretty much all the way throughout this game. So we'll set that off and slow everything down. And, yeah, that's going to be how we continue through here. The Marines and tanks just going to be sitting out the front. The few Stalkers wanting to come and press on forward, if possible. I mean, GuMiho, that's why the tank's out here defending, making sure that's not a possibility. You don't want to let that happen. You do not want to give your opponent any chance to move in towards you or get towards your base or anything, of course. So, looking to avoid that as best you can. As all of our Stalkers are joined by an Immortal coming across the map at the moment. So, across we go. Stalker's going to blink straight up into the base, and they go to try and put some damage out. Immortal going to try and get the siege tank, and just going to be seeing these Stalkers all being chased out of here. That bio army pushing this away. Tanks bio still coming through. Just going to be seeing our +1 armor upgrade coming in as well. Just going to be seeing the Robo Bay and second facility all coming up. The third Nexus is going to be accompanied by a fourth soon enough as well. So getting that going again. I feel like GuMiho has a great start of the game, and then now sitting back. I'm just worried that he sits back too long, right? Similar to the last game, gives MaxPax a chance to get splash damage up, and then he just can't quite end the game. And like I say, that's why I really do get a little bit worried for GuMiho. I think that's where he really can run into quite a lot of trouble in this. So hoping that doesn't happen. You can see already just double Colossus building at once here, so already the preparations for some splash damage on the way from MaxPax, knowing he will need it. I like that GuMiho was pushing. I do think it was the right time. You know, if a couple Colossi are out, they're not going to have range just yet. MaxPax trying to buy time, as Protoss so typically have to do in this scenario. Try and buy time, try and force units to stay at home. Just take GuMiho's attention away from this push. Try and get extended thermal lance up. Buy time for your extra Colossus. Anything can help you out here. So anything can go a long way right now. As you're going to be seeing the tanks. You need to target fire down those Colossus. If the tanks can get rid of the splash damage, that would be huge. That Colossus just survives. Oh, that's amazing. Just gets a couple extra shots off. It's GuMiho losing 10 SCVs on the other side, so he's not exactly coming out of this in a super comfortable position. Not at all, actually. So yeah, not brilliant. I mean, he now is able to obviously focus on bringing his reinforcements across the map again. He will do exactly that, so they will start to move down the south side. Extra Stalkers moving up. The Bio Army still pressing in. He's about to be at the frontier. I'm just going to be seeing our army of MaxPax again there to look to try and fight back. Just going to be having the Shadow Strike coming through, +2 attack. The Robo Bay all coming into play as well. So all of this continuing up. Just rebuilding, resetting. Yeah, kind of painful losing that Robo bit before. It slows down his Colossus production, so especially with losing one of them eventually in that fight, it means that he just now doesn't continue to build up on his splash as much as he would like to do so. He's also flown a lot of money here. I'm sure in part that's because of the fact he couldn't start his Colossus, but even when he started too, you can see he's still just not got a warp in. So MaxPax, maybe in some trouble. He's going to lose this Robo facility again. His structure out on the frontier is definitely not going to aid him. And if that Robo goes down again, just going to shut down some of that production, and your splash damage is not going to build up as effectively. And that's all, you know, these are all things you typically want to be trying to avoid, if at all possible. Nexus will fall. I'm just going to be seeing our Colossus still firing on the Marauders, so a little bit more damage being done. Marauders are going to go re-engage in, and but the Nexus going down, I mean, you're already putting yourself in a great spot here as GuMiho. It's important to just not get too overly involved, right? You know, don't stick around too long, or don't run into a fight which you don't need to take. You know, you've taken a good position by taking down this base. Although that said, I mean, GuMiho is pretty committed right now. No 2-2 upgrades, no fourth base of his own. He's kind of he's put himself in a position where he needs to do a whole bunch of damage, and he's kind of doing it, but is it enough? I mean, this feels like it more so gives GuMiho a chance than puts him in a winning place. You know, when you kind of really step back to look at it, like the army supply is good for him, but his army, like I say, is maybe not as teched up as it should be. It's not moving into any further tech, that's for sure. You know, you see any sign of ghosts or anything, I mean, we're starting to build a single Viking. So yeah, it's really not got the tech in it which it should at this sort of stage. And that's definitely a little bit of a problem here. Now MaxPax is going to come pushing this army down, and actually going to be chasing that all the way down to the bottom right. That does open the path for GuMiho to get in there. He was already feeling like he expected the the recall before the recall even came in, because he was already moving back a little bit unsure about the concept of continuing to commit in for it. Fire Force is just going to recall out of there, and the army going to go join back up in the center, so everything going to be joined up in the middle. Everything can get going at once, and let's see, this Bioforce heading down the bottom left-hand side. This DT is going to be problematic and force scans. We use one scan to try and see where the army is. He's already scanning on top of his army. He's aware that DTs are going to come in. They're going to blink on top of this and try and do the best they can. So jumping in for some damage. The Colossi on the right side does go down. Looks like GuMiho is winning this army fight. He's doing what he needs to do to some extent. He's not going to quite have enough at the end, though. He got rid of the splash damage, so maybe his reinforcements will have a chance. He's still up a bit of army. But remember, again, he's not really set up for a long, drawn-out game. The longer this goes, the more it might favor MaxPax, who just continues to get a new base set back up and puts himself into a better position just in general once again. So, a few things to be keeping in mind. Colossi and Sentry in production. If two more Colossus get up, I don't know if we can actually take another fight here. I think that might actually go just a step too far, right? That might be too much to ask for. Those Colossi is moments away from finishing as we just have the DT being caught over here, so nice to remove a little bit of the pressure and harassment that you're having to focus on. Well, it's getting out to the bottom side and just going to be seeing +2 attack already starting on the engineering bay as well. We do have GuMiho on 4 bases, his main base relocated to give him some extra economy. That keeps him alive for longer. You know, that keeps him moving along here in a situation which I think otherwise was maybe not quite going to be the case. So, nice to see that. Cluster Stalker's moving to the left-hand side. He's going to find the tank and the bio units here, so we'll be able to start doing a little bit of damage, and tank goes down. The bio on the left side, I mean, there's just not really enough in this for GuMiho, I don't think, but the Liberator putting in some work, helping to zone this out as best he can, and we are going to be seeing, again, for a moment or two, it looks almost hopeful for GuMiho, but then he just doesn't have the longevity in this army to keep it moving and to keep this going along. It looks as though MaxPax is... He's had a tough game, MaxPax, but it looks like he's eventually going to get here and get the job done. I mean, the supplies are still even. I'm just not much of a believer in the fact that GuMiho is really just not teched for days. Now, he is actually adding on some upgrades. +2 attack is going to come in for him, so that will be an improvement that we've not seen for a long time from GuMiho. His army's been very much the same for ages, and just trying to survive on resetting the better army of MaxPax, which, again, if he hadn't been doing that, he would have been dead long before now. Oh no, GuMiho is just moving now, so this time it's going to be MaxPax that kind of gets the jump on him, and he's going to be able to jump on this base. A few SCVs go down, and now the Colossi going to get a few shots off right away as this army starts thinking about how it's going to engage in. DTs are set up to counter on the top as well, so they're looking to come on through, and I think this is the combination that's going to be a little bit too difficult to deal with. No planetary fortresses anywhere. The fact that MaxPax can finally be aggressive himself, it was working for GuMiho because he was being the aggressor. He was dictating the pacing of this game and, where fights were happening. Now that MaxPax is the one doing that, he's going to start getting a lot of damage done and putting his opponent into a really, really difficult spot. GuMiho tries to attack on the other side. MaxPax is there. This little group of units will maybe be able to make a play for this base, so some possibility of damage to be done. It's just going to be seeing the Bio will find a Colossus on the top, so kind of alone. GuMiho's trying to scrap it out as best he can, but you can just see in the overall numbers it's falling further and further into MaxPax's favor here, and really is looking as though we're going to have a resolution in MaxPax's favor in the very near future. 36 SCVs down, so obviously across the map, GuMiho doesn't exactly have a whole lot going for him anymore. The Medivac's load up, away they go up to the top side. The single widow mine here fires up on the Zealots. Doing alright for itself. GuMiho's got more units coming back through the center is very high. And a second game in a row here that's pretty lengthy. Yesterday, GuMiho played against Skillus, and I don't think a single one of those games went past the 10-minute mark. I think one of them maybe made it 12 minutes, but that was a very aggressive set of games for the most part. So it's Colossi, Disruptors all coming through. A couple of Marines already being shot at and pushed away. Fire does stem all the way into the far left-hand side, jumping on top of this Nexus. A few probes. Gonna try and pull back through this and get to safety. It's gonna be seeing our Bio army just gonna sit here and not have what it needs to stay alive, and that is gonna be GG. And we're gonna see MaxPax taking a 2-0 lead in this best of 5. And map 3 on the horizon, and MaxPax potentially. So guys, and thank you for staying tuned during the quick little break as we dive into map number 3 in the bottom left-hand corner. The Blue Protoss player from Sidestone Gaming is MaxPax. Red Terran top right is GuMiho, down 0-2. See if we can bounce back on Emerald Princess. What's up, Chizu? MIBR, thank you so much for the 21-month resub on... 21-month resub on the Prime. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. First resub of the day. I really appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And see what happens as we get going into essentially the last map of our first series here. MaxPax is straight up going to put a proxy gateway down and will apply a lot of immediate pressure across the map. So he's going to set up to deal some pressure around that direction. As probe moves up here, it's going to nibble away at this SCV and try and do a little bit of damage. SCVs have to swap on the barracks, so it's going to slow down there a little bit because of it, but nothing too major. Probe just continued around and made a good go of that initially as we just set up and wait for how this goes. Obviously a CC high ground, so GuMiho going to be very cautious here, and while MaxPax, he does have that gate on the map, but he is just going to expand back at home, so it's not like he's fully committed to this one single gateway doing like a crap ton of damage. It's okay for him if this just, does okay, but not anything overly crazy, right? Like, that's kind of just fine, so let that move along. So it comes in there, Reaper taking a shot and just going to be seeing the factory coming up as well, about halfway done at the moment. The two Zealots charging forward, and this Reaper will be pushed away right now, so We'll see the Zealots. We'll run up this ramp. I mean, potential to maybe possibly get a... There's a little bit of potential to maybe get like a reactor or so, but I wouldn't say there's anything really at play more than that in this situation. Next it sets up on the natural. Reaper comes in and Probe will start to take some damage once again here and is going to be losing one of them. So a little bit of damage dealt, and now the Reaper can continue through and it's going to try and get out. There's actually a lot of jumper paths on this base for Reapers, so it's one of the ones I expected more Reaper play on it. The one time we did see like multiple Reapers, or a couple times we've seen multiple Reapers, we actually didn't see it on this map, but I do think if this was to hit ladder, this would be like a popular map to maybe mix in like the 2 racks or sometimes even the crazy 3 racks that people do. But I think that's something that you might look at least a little bit, right? So now we do have the couple of Zealots and the Stalkers still applying pressure over here. So while the Reaper does well across the map, these units are trying to get something done. A couple of SCVs will fall, and a couple of SCVs going down. I mean, both the Zealots go down too. You get a Marine. Again, it's all right. It's nothing too crazy. It's pretty overall, just kind of fine overall. Kind of whatever. These few Stalkers are thinking about getting back up this ramp. Marines in the tank, immediately in position, and that Stalker will go down. So maybe getting a little bit too adventurous there this time around. As we continue through. The tank firing up a storm is going to obviously just try and zone out those units and dissuade them from coming up this ramp and getting too involved with everything over here. So doing the best we can on that. The tank's just getting sieged, and there's going to be seeing this Reaper coming through is going to put a little bit of damage out as well. In the end, it's just going to go down. But it got a good scout. It got to see everything in the base. You got to see the entire setup here of MaxPax. So that's obviously very good, being able to gather all of that information. As now these Stalkers come through, and they're going to also do pretty well for themselves with the Adepts once again. So these units do get up, they do get in, and a couple of SCVs end up falling, and obviously you have to work your way around the tanks there. You do okay, but I mean, to be fair, MaxPax is not exactly trading super well. He's lost a lot of Stalkers, and resource loss is definitely against him. I feel like he's been putting himself in okay positions, but then every time it happens, it's actually been costing him a lot more than it maybe should be. And that's maybe where this is not quite so pretty. Forge coming in. Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful now as MaxPax. Your early games maybe not being as clean as you'd like it to be. You're definitely going to be in danger if GuMiho wants to try and push at some point. So, a couple things to be watching out for. That sort of stuff can be, very, very scary if you're not careful. So, we'll be cautious of it. As we see the medevac through the bottom side, the map is going to be across down in the bottom left here in just a second. So, that's going to get through to the bottom corner. And yeah, just gonna have otherwise the rest of this continuing through. Medevac attempt will be denied, and stim and combat shield's finishing up, so it's important that you don't let that medevac in, because if it stims into the mineral line, it's gonna do a crap ton of damage, and obviously that is preferably something you would avoid. So if you can avoid it, then avoid it. Typically, it's a good strategy, you know. It's a strategy game, and sometimes employing strategies as good as that one will just go ahead and win you games. So, yeah, definitely one to to keep an eye on. Don't tell them all that I told you, though, guys. Don't tell them all that I told you, otherwise they might be upset at me. Marines and tanks still pushing through. These few Stalkers still taking damage as we see GuMiho just coming all the way across the map. So he just continues straight across and just going to be having, I mean, tank sieging, the Stalker still being pushed out of here. Drops a few force fields down. The tank's going to take another step forward and, well, going to start zoning out the ramp. I mean, the problem is MaxPax lost a lot of units early, right? And in losing a lot of units early, he's not been able to put up a, a fight against this army coming across. He's just kind of had to accept that it's been here. So in accepting that, you end up in a pretty decent amount of trouble pretty much right away. I mean, now these tanks are going to re-siege, and let's see if these Zealots can do enough. The Stalkers blink to try and get on top as well and to help out. So trying to do what we can there. I mean, gets rid of the siege tanks, which is great, but can he then hold on against the rest of these Marines? Right, so Stalkers warping in. If you can hold on here, you're on 57 pros to the 46 workers, so holding on really would make a world of difference for you. GuMiho doesn't have a third base either, so defending this might just win you the game. I can't believe we're actually at the point where he might defend. I'm almost still convinced that GuMiho was just about to win out with those tanks sieging up on the natural ramp. I mean, he had such great control of his opponent's base, and yet here we are. MaxPax now counter-attacking. I mean, obviously Blink Stalkers just trying to intercept some units as they come across, try and trade as well as they can. I just can't believe that this has even become an option based on what we saw just moments ago. Those tanks are obviously in position to try and hit the natural, but in putting them right there, they put themselves in range of the high ground. So I guess maybe they would have been better a bit further back. Still zoning in a similar area, just not as aggressively, so the Stalkers couldn't hit them from the high ground. And then just force the Zealots to have to really engage on top of them. Typically, tanks want to hit Stalkers, right? They don't do a lot against Zealots, they get bonus against Stalkers, so if the tanks could have targeted the Stalkers down, then the Zealots can't get on top of. The Zealots are hitting the tanks, and the Bio Army is not taking damage. I think actually in this case, the Bio Army took damage, and the Stalkers helped get rid of the tanks, and that was just a combination that was not pretty at the end. Fire Force coming through, these Stalkers getting chased out of here, so once again pushed off over to the side, and this is going to be a game that has to go up to a third base now from GuMiho. So he does land that over, so he does have that now built up. He didn't have that before. We've seen that Bio Force coming through. I mean, the army supplies are starting to even out. GuMiho will be on an upgrade lead soon. He's working towards that as we speak, so that'll be in play shortly with that +1 armor. We'll see if that will change any of these fights. Ooh, good catch. These Zealots all going to be able to come on in the force field, forcing the medevac to come evacuate. Now he got the kill on that medevac with units inside. Would have been amazing. Unfortunately, doesn't quite work out, but you can kind of see where MaxPax is going to win this fight, and that's going to be GuMiho in trouble again. He lost some SCVs during this. The Zealots in his main base, and MaxPax has just played a really good set of StarCraft 2 games here, guys. I mean, you cannot deny. I mean, this game is... I mean, a few games I thought he was in really bad positions, and he has fought his way out of those, putting himself back into some better spots. And yeah, just, I mean, fantastic stuff. Got to give credit to him. He's played a really, really good set of games here. I mean, like I say, the early game wasn't always perfect or fantastic, but yeah, I mean, the ability to come back in the mid-game and put some extra pressure on in making a world of difference. MaxPax 3-0 here over GuMiho. It doesn't feel like it. Oh, it should have been a 3-0, and yet it was.